I think that the hardest part and some of the failures that have come along the way have been with me being a yes person. And I kind of touched on that at the beginning, how like standing firm in my, no, I want this color pink for my truck was really hard for me, but really important for my growth as a businesswoman.
Bailey, welcome to the Entrepreneur Studio. So glad to have you.
Honored to be here.
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
You're going to be like on a plaque engraved on the wall that you were a part of the Entrepreneur Studio.
No way.
I'm just kidding, but isn't that a great idea?
Yeah.
We just have the sign. We just have the sign.
Oh, I didn't even see my name on there.
No, your name's in lights, like literally pink lights.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I told you, don't be nervous. We're just chatting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it would be appropriate for us to hear a little bit about your business, and like it's called the Bondi Bowls.
Correct.
Did I pronounce it right?
Yes.
Yeah, because when I walk down in downtown Edmond or see the truck, I probably have pronounced it incorrectly.
We get a lot of Bondi, but we accept it. Yeah. As long as you're saying it and you're showing up, that's all we care about.
Yeah. Well, where'd the name come from?
So the name came from Bondi Beach in Australia.
Okay.
I lived there for about 2 years and loved it. So do you want to get into my story and how that all started?
Tell me all about it.
Okay. So I'm originally from here in Edmond, Oklahoma. I did my undergrad out in California. I just wanted to test myself, challenge my faith, challenge me as an individual. I loved my time out there, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to test myself again. Why don't I move to Australia, to Sydney, Australia, and not know anyone, don't have a job, nothing lined up, no place to live.
And your parents were okay with this?
Shockingly, yes. I still am shocked that they said, okay, sure, why not?
We'll support you.
I didn't necessarily tell them everything I was getting myself into.
Okay.
They thought I had a bit more secure housing than I did, things like that. But I just kept on the DL.
Okay, so when you say like you didn't have housing, you show up in Sydney, you take, transportation to the Opera House, and you're like, well, where am I going to live?
Yeah. So I had found housing before I went out there through like a friend through friend's Facebook. And then 2 weeks before I went out, she messaged, hey, sorry, we can house you for like a couple weeks, but actually we gave your spot to someone else. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I was a stranger and this other person was someone they knew. And so they felt more comfortable with it, which makes sense. So they were willing to let me kind of like crash at their place until I got on my feet. But it was kind of a scary, oh no, am I making the wrong decision? Am I actually supposed to be moving to Australia? But I decided to stick to it and kind of leave that detail out to my parents.
So did you try and like sell yourself when you got there? You're like, see, I'm amazing.
Exactly.
I'm super fun and I'm bubbly. Yeah. You should choose me.
Exactly. Kick the other person out. Keep me. So.
All right. So from Oklahoma all the way to Sydney, Australia, how did sort of the business idea, like talk to me a little bit about maybe your first entrepreneurial idea even before this business?
Ooh, good question. I think I always have had an entrepreneurial mindset. I love creating things, starting things. But I don't think I've ever come up with a good idea that's worth pursuing. I am pretty creative. I love photography. So I always thought maybe I would do something like that on the side of going to a marketing job. My mom used to own Subways and a nonprofit. And so I always was really passionate about that. And I could see myself doing something similar. I didn't expect to have the platform and have Bondi at such a young age like I did. But yeah. So.
What was your first job? Did you work for your mom?
I worked for my mom. I was about 11 to 12 years old working Subway. She taught me work ethic, discipline, so many little things. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I will say one of the things that has been a theme here in the studio is the amount of female influence on female entrepreneurs has been really, really strong, really remarkable. So like what's kind of like maybe take the work ethic thing. What's a story around like you realize like your mom has got a ridiculously good work ethic, and how did that show up, and how did you sort of try to imitate that?
Yeah, I think both my parents have incredible work ethics. My mom, especially, just watching her work Subway, like she was always cleaning the floors the hardest out of anyone in there.
Wow.
She was, getting behind the toilet and really scrubbing it. Also her customer service. She was always had a smile on her face. and created relationships with each customer that walked in. There was no judgment. Like her best friend was this 80-year-old man, Melvin, that would come in every day and get a foot-long feast and a bag of Funyuns.
Every day.
Yep. And those are like the memories that I remember of her just being so intentional with her customers, but also making sure that she was the cleanest Subway, as well as just like taking care of her employees and taking care of the customers in big ways.
So that makes a lot of sense as to why franchises was something that you had a little bit of experience, and your parents had a little bit of experience in that. Okay, that's really good. We'll talk about that more. So let's talk about you're in Sydney, Australia. When was this, and what's sort of the timing, and how did you kind of show back up in Oklahoma and start a business?
Yeah, because that's kind of where Bondi started. So I was living on Bondi Beach. 2018, I moved there. Fast forward to 2020. It's March 23rd of 2020, and this is the heat of COVID. Yes, everything was starting to lock down.
Wow.
People were making big decisions. I'd actually just lost one of my 2 jobs at this time, and my dad had called me. And I could tell by the tone of his voice that something was wrong. And the more we talked, he just kind of broke down and was like, I have found a 6-centimeter tumor in my bladder. The doctors say it doesn't look good. I'm going in for emergency surgery in the morning, but I wanted to tell you, don't feel obligated to come home. But then I heard my mom and my sister crying in the background. And in that moment, it hit me like, I need to be home for them. And also for my dad. So I jumped on the next flight. I got home, and thankfully his tumor was a non-invasive cancer. So with normal life expectancy, which was such a praise and like an answer to so many prayers over those 24 hours as we waited. But now I was back in Oklahoma. I was almost angry at God that he had brought me home because now I couldn't go back to Australia. They had lockdown rules and restrictions, and I wasn't able to get back over there. So now I was stuck here. It was the heat of COVID. No one was hiring. I was applying for every job you can imagine, from sales and marketing to McDonald's and Subway. I was not picky in the job. I work hard at anything that I do, and I don't care what it is. But no one was hiring. So
not even your mom?
Not even so it was crazy. And we say this is a God thing, but my mom sold both of her Subways right before COVID.
Oh my gosh.
And so if she had kept the Subways, we talk about it all the time, I would have been the manager of Subway.
Yeah.
And we would have not had Bondi Bolts, because I would have taken that under my wing and kind of just flourished with Subway. So I was making these acai bowls for my dad because of their amazing health benefits. They have antioxidants, minerals, vitamins, and I wanted to fuel him, and he loved it. He thought it tasted so good.
Had you cooked or like made food like that before, or is this like you just started doing research and you're like, I'm gonna make one for dad?
So they're really big in Australia. They're pretty big in California, where I did my undergrad as well. So I'd had them a lot. But my dad was like anti-fruit, and he does not like that kind of stuff. And so when he visited me in Australia, he came out, and I was eating an acai bowl for breakfast. I couldn't finish, so I made him finish it for me. And he was like, these are so good. And so the whole time we were in Australia, he was like, where can we get an acai bowl? I want an acai bowl. And so he fell in love with them.
Oh my gosh.
So when I came home,
sushi. Yeah.
When I came home, I was like, all right, I want to fuel you with this. It's good for you. So I researched, the best kind of acai that has no sugar, no preservatives in the acai. It's pure, straight from the Amazon. I was intentional about all of our ingredients and products that go into it. I perfected my own granola. So I worked really hard with my mom to make the best tasting granola you could ever have. Same with our almond butter and peanut butter. So we made our own recipe. And little things like that. And so I was doing that, perfecting it, making it for friends and family. And my mom on a random Tuesday night was scrolling through Facebook, and she saw that there were like these food trucks in local neighborhoods. And she was like, Bailey, get out of the house, get a food truck and do this. Serve the community. And so she has a lot to do with this. And she, once she said that, I was like, I could either say, cool, good idea, mom, or I could be like, let's go and do this. Yeah. So I chose the latter. That weekend, I bought a food truck spontaneously. And then after a month of working it out, getting the truck wrapped, all the little things that go into making a business, we were up and running. Day 3, we blew up. I was having to hire employees. I thought it'd be something that I would just do on the weekends for friends and family, but it had exponentially grown. We had people driving hours to come try our product. We had grown drastically on social media, on Instagram. And so after day 3, I knew we were onto something. We did 60 events throughout the month of July. So I was working.
Hold on. So how did you get a food truck?
Yeah.
Okay, number 1, how did you get a food truck? And then how are people hearing about you at this point?
So the food truck.
I love compound questions, by the way. I'm gonna be like, here's 3 questions. You're gonna have to remember all.
Perfect. Yeah. I'll go in order too.
Okay,
First one, food truck.
All right.
I found the food truck on Facebook Marketplace. So I was looking on like used vending and Facebook Marketplace. And I found a couple of them and we went and toured all of them. This one was specifically in Tulsa. So I went out and the guy, he worked for a church and he was, his wife was having their first baby. So he was wanting to transition out and he was selling the truck way over my budget. But I still wanted to tour it because it was so cute. So we toured it and we toured the other ones that were reasonable within my price. But I fell in love with this one in Tulsa. And this guy said he had people offer at offering price, but he wanted to give it to someone that had the passion for business and dedication towards their business, that he just really saw would take this truck and blossom with it. And so I came home, I woke up the next morning and I texted him a lowball offer that was within my budget. And he immediately responded, deal. And when we went and picked it up, he was like, I have been praying and been hoping for the right person to take this truck and to take it to the next level. And little did he know that by selling a 24-year-old girl straight from Australia, that food truck that we now have 17 food trucks across 8 states. We now have 2 storefronts open and 2 kiosks in different sporting facilities. Wow. All because that guy waited to find the person that was passionate about their business rather than just selling it to the highest bid.
All right. So passion was your competitive advantage.
I guess so,
okay,
yeah.
Well, that's good. It's probably served you well.
It has. It really has.
Okay.
I think the drive and the passion and having a mission statement. So even before we bought the truck, my family and I sat down and we're like, what is going to be our mission statement? What is our verse? Where are we going? What are our values? And because we established those at the very beginning, I do believe that's why we have grown at the rate that we have in 2.5 years and continue to grow and expand in like big ways all across the United States. So
it's amazing. So, passion is a competitive advantage. You told us about how you got the food truck. Day 3, how are people finding you and coming to your food truck from a long ways away? Yeah,
we had people driving 2.5 hours to come get a bowl. I studied marketing, so I think it does kind of go back to marketing. Mm-hmm. I love social media and Instagram, so I jumped on that platform and promoted, as well as promoting on my personal and just not being ashamed or fearful of my business, but instead like grasping it and running with it. I think especially at the beginning, you can be like fearful of what people will think or the judgments that might come. I remember telling my girlfriends, hey, I think I'm gonna buy a food truck and do acai bowls. And they kind of like tilted their head and they're like, of course Bailey would do that.
Yeah,
that's such a Bailey thing.
Okay.
But I took that as an opportunity. I was like, I'm going to go all in. I'm not going to give it 50%. I'm going to give it everything I have. But yeah, I think it was just social media and promoting. We make our bowls aesthetic. Our truck wrap, like the pink that we have, it's like this really pretty pastel pink. And I was very specific about that and how I wanted the truck to look and the vibe we wanted to give off. I remember I had my first booking on a Thursday and I went to pick my truck up that morning from the truck wrap guy. Cause like I said, we did this in a month. So everything was moving quick and I couldn't keep up already. I went to go pick it up and it was a hot bubblegum pink. And I was like, this is not the pink that I chose. This is not the pink that I sent you. And he was like, oh, it's no big deal. Like nobody will notice or care. Like it's just a pink. And it was in that moment, I think as an entrepreneur and a business owner, I had to decide, is it worth it? Or do I just say, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. And I had to say, okay, no, I'm going to take all of next week off and you're going to rewrap this to the color that I have sent you and specifically asked for.
Wow.
And I think that was a big step for me because I am a yes girl and I'm an avoid conflict type of person.
Okay.
But in that moment, it really tested me of like, okay, is it worth it? I need to make those hard decisions and make those judgment calls if I want to grow this into a brand and be something that I see potential for. And this was like a key piece that I learned in marketing, like what your product looks like, what your truck looks like, how you market things. So that was kind of my first big girl like decision or step moving forward.
Yeah, holding the boundary with the rap guy. That's
yeah, exactly.
All right, so what made you sort of sit down and decide on vision, mission, values before really you started making major decisions?
Yeah, I feel like that is something that I just learned from my parents, especially my mom. She does everything with a purpose. It is like she opened Subway with the idea of getting to bless our local community and then get to know the customers and get to know that community. And that's what spurred on the nonprofit. Her mission and her objective was always the nonprofit, but Subway was the way that she got to that purpose. And so for me, I've always, and in school, I think in my business school that I went to, they hounded on having a mission statement. And like Simon Sinek, he always talks about having your why when you go into things. And so it was just something big that we thought of beforehand of what is our mission? So it's encouraging God-honoring conversation while providing clean and healthy meals.
All right, say that again.
Encouraging God-honoring conversation while providing clean and healthy meals.
All right, that's cool.
So we have three values. It's faith, community, and health. And those are our objectives, and that's what we go after. And by having that, it keeps us on track. It keeps us moving forward. We just had our first Bondi retreat this weekend.
Wow.
So I
did see that on social media.
Yeah, we had 17 food truck owners from all over the US. We had people flying in from Portland to Oklahoma for us to have our first retreat. And it was just reminding them of the mission and just watching them having lived out, listening to the stories of the lives that they've touched in their community, the things that they've fundraised for local families in need, or giving to, the fire department or whatever it is, getting to bless their community and listening to all of these stories of lives that are being changed in Lubbock, lives that are being changed in Portland, in Flagstaff, in Tennessee, literally all over the United States, because we're a brand on a mission. And we know we have a bigger role than just selling clean and healthy products. Yeah. Serving really good smoothie bowls. Yeah. So I think that's what
conversation is a part of it. Of the mission. So do all of them have the exact pink food truck?
We have 2 blue food trucks.
Okay.
But the rest are all pink.
So you made an exception.
Yeah, I made an exception. It was because it was a boy that bought it.
Yeah.
And he was like, do I have to drive a pink food truck? I was like, no, we can find another pastel.
Yeah.
I loved, though, getting to hire employees. When I hired a college girl and 2 high schoolers on day 3, and I just threw them in the truck. That first shift, our generator went out in the middle of making smoothie bowls. So then we had to shut down. Our air conditioning went out, so my dad had to go buy us a little makeshift air conditioning where it blocked the door. And so they were having to adjust with us. And instead of them complaining and being like, I'm never working there again, they dove into the fact that this was a small business, and they fell in love with the process. And they have taught me so much of little things on customer service, but also, oh, Bailey, why do you have this shelf here? All of this should be over here. It makes more sense. And things like that have played a big role into our efficiency and how we've grown. So I love bringing the people into it.
All right. So speaking of people, you've got a set of core values, and typically it's most businesses will screen people, right? When you're trying to build a culture, screen people, either when you're getting ready to hire them or as you're working together, screen them on the values. So how have you incorporated sort of the value system into the people that you choose to hire?
Yeah. So at the storefront, which is the place I own, and it's mainly high school and college kids that I hire out there. For them, I just do a first interview, and you kind of just from that first conversation see where their passion lies, and you learn a lot about them in that 15-20 minute conversation that plays a factor. And I have been so blessed that almost all of my employees are just so hardworking, love the brand, love our business, and they love serving people. We just get so many positive reviews on our customer service and engagement. And I will be walking around Sam's or something like that, and someone will stop me and say, I had the greatest experience with, Sam. She was so kind to me at the store, and things like that. So that's been really cool. So it's not as strict of a screening, but to be a franchise owner, we are a bit strict in that. So it's normally like an initial interview with Jacoby, who's my chief sales officer, and his main role is working on expansion and growth. So he does a first screening interview with them. And then after that, I do a screening interview with them. Mm-hmm. And then if we both think that it's a good fit, they'll come out and do an experience where they will be on the truck, see if it's actually a lifestyle that they would be willing to commit to. Mm-hmm. After that, then they move forward to like actually getting, signing the contract and moving forward in that process, doing the startup and helping them find the truck and stuff.
Okay. So it's like the mix between business fit and a culture fit.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, what made you, with the growth, like, there's always like startup, build out, scale up. And I think, your startup accelerated pretty fast, and now you're kind of in build out mode faster than most, right? A couple years in. What made you kind of pick the route of franchise versus like chain, and you owning, all of the food trucks and the restaurants and managing it from a sort of centralized business that way instead of decentralized through franchises?
Yeah. When I first started, about a month in, a man approached me to grab coffee, and he was a bit older, and I was a bit hesitant about bringing in a mentor of any sort. Mm-hmm.
So a random guy says, hey, you want to go get coffee?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of conversation
exactly.
is this going to be? Okay.
And then his daughter-in-law, who had booked us, came up to me and was like, you need to Google this guy. He's a big deal, and he would be a great resource and a mentor. Mm-hmm. So I did, and he's fantastic. And so I sat down with him about a month into starting, and I was telling him my business and telling him about it, and he was asking these really great questions. And then he just sat back and he was like, wait, you started this. He had thought I was a franchise of a business. And then when he found out that I had founded this and started this from scratch and a month ago, he was like, Bailey, you're onto something. Let's power through this. I think you have a lot of potential. And that relationship with my mentor, Pat, has been incredible. He has grown Bondi exponentially. He's the one that brought in a lawyer to do the franchising process. But we chose franchising for multiple reasons, but one of them being the fact that families wanted to buy into the experience. And I had people reaching out that they wanted to be a small business and they wanted to serve their local community. And that's what I wanted. So on our website, when you Google us, it's nationally known, locally owned, because our owners are all local to their community. They're serving their people, versus me coming in and serving the town of Lubbock. This just adds an extra small business and local feel that you get by being a franchise versus corporate just coming in and putting up locations left and right in different areas. So he really encouraged me to go that route. Also, I didn't have the finances at this point to be putting in a lot of money and popping up left and right. I also, after a lot of thought and talk with my mentors and my family, we didn't want to bring investors in at that point. We wanted it to be still a small family-owned business where we were passionately running after things. And I wanted to enjoy my work and not have to have a lot of business meetings or talks with investors, especially up front at the beginning. So that's kind of what started it, and just the fact that we had already had people reaching out to open one. So Fort Worth was our first franchise. I didn't know her at all, and now we're like best friends. We like went on a run on Sunday together, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think we chose to do franchising because of what my mentors had pushed me in. And it's actually technically a license, not a franchise. Licensing is a lot cheaper. I'm licensing the right to all of the different things that we own as corporate. So we own the trademarks and the patents and things like that. So that's kind of what we're licensing out versus a franchise.
And recipes, you licensing those out too?
Yes. And then we
because you had to document all of that, and so that you can actually license it.
Correct. Yeah. So I have this like really thick folder of just all the different little things, all the recipes, the know-how, where to buy your truck, how to buy these things, so that you buy it once and it's like, you're not buying a whole bunch of things and learning. We've already figured it all out. We know how to be efficient. We know how to be quick. We know how to serve the best product. We have the truck wrap file. You're not having to pay for that or have someone design it. We have the website, the social media, the emails, all that kind of stuff. another thing was my sister, she was in law school at the time. And so I was just also learning from her just how to be a smart business, because she was learning in class about businesses and about non-smart businesses and how to, protect yourself as a business. So she taught me a lot as well getting started, which was really fun.
Well, I mean, that's good. Probably trademarks, right? Yeah. Copyright, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Super cool. Well, one of the things that I think is interesting about a franchise or even licensing is it's kind of like, what are you selling? Like, you're selling a license that's super clear, which is effectively a contract for intellectual property. And, let's take like Chick-fil-A, for example, right? It's ultimately it's a closely held franchise, right? And they've got definitely a nationally known brand, and it's really hard to get a store. It's really hard to get a second store.
Yeah.
Right. So but what the intensive sort of nature of the way that they run those franchises is pretty. Like I said, it's intense. So what are you selling the brand in your mind? Are you selling the experience? Like, what's the primary thing that what are you really selling?
Yeah.
Because it maybe not be the product.
I believe Bondi is three things. We're a really good product, but we're also a story. I think that the Bondi Bowl story and getting to use it in your community has been really impactful. So every single time you approach a truck, there's going to be an A-frame out front with the story of Bondi. So about my dad and our family and how we came together and started this business. And below it's going to be the story of the local owners, of how they came about to do this business, what they love about it. And so you get to be really personable with our owners and with our brand and our business. But we create an experience. Our culture is one of the best, I would say. We love each other. We're a family. We serve each other, and we serve our community really well.
Yeah.
We also, another thing that makes us super unique to competitors, one, I kind of touched on, that our ingredients are really clean and healthy. So we don't put any sugar or preservatives in that base. It is pure acai. It costs us a bit more than our competitors that do have that, but we go the extra mile because we know how important that is. And then our granola and our nut butters, only us as corporate actually know the recipes for that, and we sell the granola and the nut butters to the franchise owners. So that's another way that corporate is able to sustain ourselves, and for me to be able to hire employees on corporate is through royalty and through selling the granola and nut butters.
Okay, got it. So you're selling wholesale, right? So you're packaging and okay, that's super cool. So is there and there's an initial contract, they buy the licenses, is it a one time or is it upfront and then royalties over time?
Yeah, so there's just a startup cost, it's pretty low, and then an ongoing monthly royalty.
Monthly royalty, okay. Is it from top line or is it bottom line, like profit sharing?
It's top line.
Top line, okay. Wow.
Top line. So we go off that number, and then there's also, since they are food trucks, they could just not be open all month and just be open for one day. So since we can't, unlike storefronts that franchise that have Subway you had to be open a certain amount of days or things like that to ensure that they're getting the sales. So for us, we have a revenue threshold. So they have to do a certain amount within a year. And if they don't, then they pay the difference of that revenue threshold, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I'm guaranteed a certain amount.
That's super smart. It's, the I'd say tagline of the Entrepreneur Studio is that success is no accident. And if anyone listening back hears the number of sort of connected wins over and over and over again, and for you to get, it's kind of like 2 years is not 2.5 years is not a long time, right? To get to kind of where you are and have the amount of documentation along the way, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that don't document anything, right? And it's to choose a strategy that's the difference between your intellectual property that you may patent versus something that you keep as a trade secret and you sell the wholesale. I have no idea how it seems like you just talk through and you're this just all happens, right?
Yeah.
But there is an ecosystem of sort of surround sound for you. Who's on your team?
Yeah.
Right? Who's on the team early and who's kind of stayed on the team to help you with some of these sort of key successes?
Honestly, I give it a lot of this is we don't know what we're doing. It is crazy how uneducated.
So never mind, success is next. Just kidding.
No, but my mom, she does have a lot of knowledge. She has taught me a lot. And since she did do Subway, she offers the other perspective. Like, you know, I bought all of my bread and things like that from Subway. So we need to make sure that there's something that they're buying from corporate to make it worth it. Things like that. So she did teach me a lot. My mentors have taught me a lot. But honestly, it's crazy how the Lord just opened the right doors and closed opportunities and put the right people in our path to teach us those things, because I studied business marketing, but this is my first time actively doing business. You know, I worked cafe jobs up until this moment. So, yeah, I think my parents are very wise counsel. I have a lot of successful business friends and family friends that have helped me along the way on decision making. My uncle owns businesses out in California, so he's been wise counsel as well. But yeah, to answer your question, I think it really is just a lot of work really, really hard and keep moving forward. But I think the Lord has just given us wisdom on little things that, looking back on, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad we didn't just share the granola recipe and have everyone make it from their house and things like that. Because it does allow us to have something special that keeps within the Bondi brand.
Yeah. Because that's the hardest part, right? Is brand continuity, right? Because there's corporate support, but like, what are some of the, maybe let's talk about some of the challenges or even pieces of failure that you're like, okay, we're trying to sell an experience and a brand is a part of that experience. Our brand is sort of known, but not widely. It's not a household name yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? So what are some of the challenges or maybe some of the failures that you've learned along the way, or some of the lessons that you've learned along the way?
Yeah, we've had a lot of failure. I think that comes with any business, is that you're constantly learning, but there is just this like support system that keeps me going even through the really difficult times. And a couple of, I feel like sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but I think that the hardest part and some of the failures that have come along the way have been with me being a yes person. And I kind of touched on that at the beginning, how like standing firm in no, I want this color pink for my truck was really hard for me, but really important for my growth as a businesswoman. But sometimes I'm interviewing future owners and I want to say yes, but my gut is telling me, no, this isn't the best opportunity for them or for you. And sometimes I don't lean into it like I should. And I make the wrong decisions on those things. So we have ran in, I think my lowest low so far in this process has been, there was a week where I had 2 trucks approach me. Hey, we're selling, we're done. And I was like, it was crushing. This business was supposed to bless people. It was supposed to give your family X, Y, and Z. Why are you selling? Like, I felt like a failure. And then on top of it, I was in the process of actually revoking a contract from a owner that wasn't living up to the brand standards, wasn't, quality control was not priority for their truck. They were no showing events, things like that. That was hurting the brand. And since we weren't, the Chick-fil-A, and they couldn't say, well, the one down the street might be better. It was one of those things where this could actually be destructive to my growth and to the brand and to the business. And so all 3 of those happening in 1 week, it was so hard to get out of bed. I was just like, I'm done. Obviously, this isn't working how I thought it was going to work. This isn't making the impact I thought it was going to be doing. I just want to throw it all in. And my mentors obviously helped, and my mother and my family. But also I just had to say, like, there's a bigger purpose, and I still need to go out there and start moving forward. The right people are going to come in and take over, and it'll all work out. But it was that literally week was just so hard of, I have failed, I have messed up. And my mentor had to grab me and say, Bailey, this is business. People sell all the time. You just don't see it. You have no idea how many people have probably owned X, Y, and Z business right down the street. This is normal. You're just now in the thick of it and it doesn't feel normal. But this is going to happen to you for the rest of your time with Bondi. There are people coming in and coming out, and you're going to have to adjust to that. And so, yeah, just seeking wise counsel and people that have been through something that I've been through helped me get over that. But I think about it often. If I didn't have that mentor that shook me and said, it's okay, this is normal, I probably would have been throwing the towel in and just saying, it's not worth it. I'll just do my own food truck. I'm done with all this other stuff. Like, let's move on. So, yeah, that was probably a hard one. Also, I'm a lot of people's first jobs, and that comes with a lot of challenges of teaching them work ethic and allowing them to learn and allowing them to mess up sometimes. There's been times orders have been misplaced, the wrong thing's been shipped to the wrong truck, little things like that cost me as corporate a lot of money. But having to be okay with the learning process of being these kids' first jobs and allowing mistakes to happen and not getting super frustrated, but using it as teaching moments. As well as teaching them work ethic, having to go in and physically scrub the floors so that they can see how to scrub floors.
Yeah. That made an impression on you. Your mom's scrubbing floors and scrubbing the toilets too.
Exactly. Yeah. Of like, they have to see it and see that the person in charge is doing it just as much as they are. All
right. What were your 3 values again?
It was faith, connection, or faith, community, and health.
Faith, community, and health. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, it's like, if they're gonna scrub the floors, right? They have to share in those core values, right? There's got to be one of those values sort of driving them to do that, to work hard, to do something that doesn't seem directly connected, but if it's faith, connection, and health. If it's those things, it's like, okay, some of them are going to be motivated by connection. Some of them are going to be motivated by the people that they're serving. Some of them are going to be motivated by their teammate, right?
Right.
And so there's connection everywhere, right? I think that's really powerful how you are kind of driving culture and teaching, people that this is the first job that they've ever had. I think that's a pretty cool I'd say entry to the workforce is getting somebody like you that's value-centric, showing them the way.
I remember when I was living in Australia, I worked at a cafe, and at the cafe, the managers were never really helping us on the floor, and it was a really, really busy cafe, and it drove me crazy. I was like, why is this manager not popping out of the office, helping us when it's a rush, and then popping back in and finishing what they need to do? And so in that moment at 20, I was like, I will never be that manager that spends more time in my office than out here on the floor. I know I have things to do, but I want to be also out on the floor. And so I have lived with that motto since I started Bondi. I mean, I'm always on the truck. I'm never not working the truck. And at the store, I'm there, but I always take every 3 to 4 hours, 10 to 15 minutes to be on the floor and help out the people working at the store. And I didn't realize the impact it was making until one day our trash can out front kind of smelled. And so I had them bring it back, and I was like, we need to clean out this trash can. I don't think it's been cleaned out for a while. So they take the trash out to the dumpster, they come back in, and I'm already physically inside of this huge box, and I'm deep cleaning it with a rag. And one of my employees commented and said, we have the best boss that she's in the dumpster so that we don't have to be. And in that moment, it hit me that I had learned servant leadership by learning what not to do. And now I get to teach these high school and college kids servant leadership by doing it. And in that moment, I was like, I cannot wait for this individual to be the CEO of a company, to be a doctor or a firefighter or whatever it is, and be like, I learned servant leadership from my foundation at Bondi Bulls because of how Bailey led and always popped out and took those times. And so for me, that was just so humbling of they're always watching, and I need to be intentional with my work and intentional with what I say and what I do around them. And so that was just it wouldn't have hit me if he wouldn't have made that comment. I think that they were watching and this was making an impact.
Well, see, I think that's really the pace at which you've kind of started up the story and how you've grown. I think it's really interesting for you to kind of come to a place of legacy matters, right? Like for you to have the sort of ability to go, I care so much about connection. And all of these things mean so much to me that I want to leave a legacy with the people that I interact with. So what are some other things that are like, hey, what I would really like to see happen is I want to see our story have these next chapters? What are some of the next chapters that you want to see happen in your story that can sort of provide an even stronger legacy?
Yeah, I mean, for Bondi specifically, I want it to be all over the United States. I would say that's our goal. I read Truett Cathy's book, Eat More Chicken, and he spoke on how having 5 to 10 year goals and plans for your business is wise and it's needed in some capacity, but also waking up every day and working hard will take you way farther than those 5-year plans, and just continuing to push growth. And I think that's what we've seen as a business is that, yes, I have these plans. I want to be, I have this dream to be in Huntington Beach, California, that I would love to make a reality. I have these dreams to be global one day. I have these dreams that we will literally be in all states in the United States. I have these big picture visions, and the best way to achieve those, I've noticed, is by waking up every day and working hard at the small things that I have right now, because in return, you have no idea how many franchise requests we get in our email from people just experiencing it or seeing it on social media. And that's just because we're doing what we're doing and we're not stopping. We're not letting go. We're not refocusing to expand in these big ways. We're doing what we're doing really, really well. And the opportunities are honestly coming to us because we haven't swayed from our mission, from our vision, from our marketing strategies, those types of things. We're always adapting and being, we're okay with the idea of change, but we're staying true to our core. And that in itself is what has put us into 8 states after 2.5 years.
Well, strategy is a lot about what you say yes to, but it's a lot more about what you say no to.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you've, it's almost like you just have naturally, discovered how to be so strategic, because it's like, I'm going to say yes, and I have to have this certain color of pink, and that's the wrap that's going to go on all these except the 2 blues. It's amazing how you've kind of come to say no to the right things. What are some of the things that you wish you'd said yes to?
Ooh, that's a good question. Honestly, I don't think I have any regrets in that way. I've always, I wouldn't say.
See, as a yes person, you're like, I say yes to pretty much everything.
I was about to say, I can't think of a time.
Yeah, it's like there's not a lot of no's. Well,
there aren't a lot of no's.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
And I think that you're going to get better at no. I think that's a pretty valuable word, is being able to say no, to the wrong things, right? And saying yes to the right things. What, I know you've talked a lot about faith. Talk about faith and giving back. What does Bondi Bowls do to really give back in tangible and even some maybe less tangible ways?
That's actually a great question. So Bondi in this past year in 2022 just won Philanthropic Business of the Year, which was such an honor, being such a small business and being recognized in that capacity in our community. Ways that we do that is honestly by giving of our finances and our product and our time. We are constantly finding ways to give back to local foster care and adoption agencies. That is something that's really passionate for me and my extended family. We have cousins that are adopted. My uncle is adopted. And so our passion and our love for that industry and agency is really important. So constantly giving back in that concern. Also, the koala sanctuary in Australia. There was a really big wildfire in 2020 that almost put the koalas extinct in that area. And so there's a lot of rehabilitation. So I do give a lot of money in that regards. And we sponsor, almost all of our trucks sponsor a koala as well. Aww. That fund. So we have, if they do sponsor one, they have a picture of a really cute koala on their window. That's the koala that they are sponsoring in Australia.
So right when someone walks up, they've got the A-frame of the story.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
And then they have a koala.
They have a koala, awesome. An A-frame, and a menu.
Okay.
And that's all it. And then we also always, I think something that makes us unique is that always taking orders outside of our truck, which allows for that conversation that we had talked about at the beginning in our mission statement of encouraging God-honoring conversation. We're outside, we're discussing, we're talking, we're doing life with our customers instead of opening up the window. What would you like to order? Okay, thank you. And then slamming the window shut.
You got people standing outside the truck.
Yeah, they're physically out there in just about every weather. There was one time where I was outside of a boutique fitness class and there was ice on the ground. And I was like, you know what? It's not worth it for us to stand out there, so we'll go through the window. But most of the time, we're outside engaging with the customers, asking about their day while they wait on their order, those types of things. Because I think that's really important in creating that community and that culture where you just love going to a pink food truck for that reason. But yeah, we give back in through schools, speaking opportunities, and just getting to inspire future leaders, as well as give back to any of their like nonprofits that they're fundraising for. Our schools do a lot of fundraisers and things like that. So getting to be a part of that and giving back to the community.
That's awesome. What is, tell us a story of like one of the most memorable things that have happened conversationally outside of a food truck.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think one that's a core memory. I actually have two. One's at the store and one's at the food truck.
Okay.
So the food truck, I had, they both are kind of on the same theme. A woman come up to me and she had read the story and she came over almost in tears, just saying, "Thank you for having your story out there. It's very inspiring. My husband's going through the same thing. And this was really encouraging for me and my family." And that one just, and we get a lot of those, and a lot of the truck owners will speak on that too, of just people will comment on just getting to read that story and walk away with a different conversation. And that's what it's all about. That's how we're encouraging those conversations. I want people to experience Bondi, either if it's reading the story or just experiencing the environment and the culture that we've provided, and walking away and having a positive conversation with their friends. Whether it be like, "This was the cutest food truck. I'm so glad we chose to do this." Or if it's, "Did you read that story? It touched my life. And now I want to do X, Y, and Z." That's kind of how we do it. And when she brought that up to me and I got to like vividly or like real life experience that the story was touching their lives.
Wow.
That was so humbling. And thankfully that, you know, my dad was a non-invasive cancer and we went through treatments for about 6 months and, you know, had to do certain things and he was unstable at times, but, you know, he was okay. And I know that that's not the story for everyone. So my sympathy and my empathy is just, it rocks me, some of the stories that I hear of people's lives that don't have the same outcome as us, because it's very real when you're in it.
It seems like you were like, "Hey, Dad, I need you to get well so you can help me with this stuff." And you put him to work.
Oh, yeah. He is definitely...
He's like, "Yes, ma'am."
He works for Bondi. I think he's also an emergency room doctor. So I was feeding him this when he was going through cancer treatment. COVID was happening, and he's a 60-year-old ER doctor. So... again, this was March of 2020. We had no idea what we were dealing with. So we wanted to keep him as healthy as we could. But he, I think selfishly or like secretly loves the title Bondi Bulls Dad more than he does ER doctor.
Please tell me he shows up on social media as Bondi Bulls Dad.
You know, I should probably talk about him more. I don't. He's very shy and he's very much the opposite of me and my mother. We're the loud ones. He is very quiet. He's behind the scenes. He comes to Bondi every day. Gets a Brimple. So our size is a small, medium Brimple, because that's my dad. He gets a Brimple every single day, comes in, says hi to all my employees, fixes something that they need fixing, takes the trash out for them, and then goes on his day. Wow. So that's the kind of man he is. And I'm so honored to have him part of the team. But yeah.
What's your favorite thing about your dad?
Ooh. Oh, there's so many things. I think his humility.
Yeah.
He walks around and you would have no idea the type of man he is or the lives he's changed or the things he does out of the kindness of his heart. He serves people so beautifully. Both of my parents do. And he does everything ethically. And I think that's something that I've learned in business is that not very many businesses do ethical business making. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of big decisions in business that can be done unethical. And I've had to face those opportunities or those challenges. And I present them to my parents and my dad always is like, the ethical one. We're always going this route. And that has just been really inspiring because just watching him do that in his life and seeing the compounding blessings that's come with that, and just the lives that he again changed through that and the way that he served. But it comes from his humility of just walking around with this like always looking for ways to serve and a servant leader always with humility. I don't know. I think that's probably my favorite thing.
Well, that's Bondi Bowl's dad. What's your favorite thing about Bondi Bowl's mom?
Oh my goodness. Okay. My mom, she is wise counsel. She is so wise and discerning. She has a strong work ethic, but she loves people big. And she is so discerning that sometimes a decision that would make logical sense is sometimes not always the right decision. And she has such this in tune gut feeling to make the right decision, even when it looks like it would be catastrophic or be the wrong idea. She leans into those and has given me such wise counsel over these 2.5 years. She's definitely the first person I call every single day. So we've talked already 3 times today, which has been really cool for our relationship because we weren't that close, especially when I moved to California and then Australia. We talked maybe once or twice a month, send a text message here and there, but we didn't talk consistently. And now we talk every single day.
Totally different story now.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that has been really awesome to hear about your story is just the people that are around you, right?
Yeah.
And all of the lessons that you've learned. I mean, just all of the learning from failure, growth through hardship, right? And then growth through engaging people and things like that. It's really powerful to see your vision, your mission, your values show up externally for what's been installed in you internally, right?
Yeah.
So it's really powerful. What is going to happen if like one day you're like, it's time to graduate from Bondi Bowls?
No.
Never.
No,
Wow.
never.
Okay.
No, I actually get that question a lot of like, okay, when are you going to sell it? Or, what's the price you're going to sell it for? When's that day coming?
Yeah.
And it was interesting, like when I signed some of the first franchises or license, that was their big question. Well, is it always going to be you? Or like when you sell, like, what does this contract look like? They're like, we're okay signing this contract with you, but like if it's a different owner, it might look different.
Wow.
And I was just like, I can't believe you're even asking that. I would never sell. Yeah, I think that this is my baby. And so it'll always be a part of me. I can't picture myself going that route. But I do see myself getting to free my time more so that I can do other adventures and go down different paths. Or I would love to do a nonprofit or some sort of mission focused business as well that is grounded in that. So I do see that there'll probably be other things added to my plate, but I don't think I would ever remove Bondi.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first. Super good. Well, I have some rapid fire questions for you. You ready?
I knew this was coming and I don't think I'm ready.
You're not ready. Do you need a breath? Like take a couple deep breaths? Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. So here's the first one. Did you bring back a temporary accent from Australia?
Ooh, I fake it, but no.
Are you going to do an impression right now?
No, I don't think I can. It's too embarrassing.
Right
no.
The only thing, like, shot.
I give it a try every time. I always want to say, well, it's embarrassing because one of our franchise owners is Australian. He came from Australia, has the accent, and him and his family just got back from Australia on Tuesday or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I can't do it in front of him. That's so embarrassing.
Okay. Did anybody get you with drop bears?
No, they got me though with the what are they called? Like kookaburra birds that come and peck your head.
Yep.
Yeah, those scared me. I always walked around with a stick for a while.
See, I don't understand. Like I ran a software company that was all of the developers and other executive team members were Australian. And man, the amount of jokes that those guys played on me.
Oh, they're so funny.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, well, what's your biggest passion outside of work?
Oh my gosh. I think serving kids. I love volunteering.
That's awesome.
With little kids.
Okay. Well, what's a Bondi Bowl combo that you tried and it didn't work?
Oh my gosh, so many. We were trying to incorporate a lot of weird spices into it. And that is do not mix fruit and spices.
Okay.
Oh, I thought of another passion.
Oh, what's the passion?
I love wakeboarding.
Okay.
Yes.
Favorite lake?
My parents grew up on a small little lake in Oklahoma, and so we would always go there every morning.
Lakes in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, what's a guilty pleasure in your life?
And
as vulnerable as you can get.
I know. Shoot.
Totally kidding. It's rapid fire.
I don't know. I know I'm really bad at these rapid fire. I even tried to prep even.
We gave you no preparation. This is the whole point. Yeah, you got to do it on the spot.
Guilty pleasure. I don't really do anything outside of Bondi is the problem. I'm like trying to picture what I do outside of Bondi. I mean, I watch a lot of Netflix, but I feel like that's a lame one.
Why is that lame?
I feel like there's so many other things like would be funny.
Yeah, I mean,
So I apologize.
Okay. Well,
I'll get better. The next question.
What about a band or like?
See, I don't really listen to music. I don't know artists.
Oh my gosh.
When I drive in my car, there's no music playing. I sit in like silence. It's weird.
This is amazing.
I know, it's a weird thing about me.
All right, well, who would play you in a movie?
Ooh, I love the girl from Blindside, the mom.
Oh yeah,
I love her.
Bullock?
Yeah, I think she's fun. I would like her to play me, but
well, there you go.
I feel like it would have to be someone younger. I don't know. I mean, if they're playing a 24-year-old, but I'd be Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, what's your favorite non-healthy food?
Ooh, I eat a lot of pizza. I eat a lot of Hideaway pizza.
Hideaway pizza.
That'd be my guilty pleasure too, I guess.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
We got it out of you somehow. All right, what's one new interest or hobby that you'd like to explore?
I started running.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going to run the OKC Marathon. Started 2 weeks ago.
No way.
Yep. Couch potato to marathon. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, so you go full throttle with what you do.
Yeah.
I picked up on that during the conversation. Okay, well, that's super good. Who is another entrepreneur that inspires you?
Ooh, there's a lot. I would say I love the owners of Cousin's Maine Lobster.
Okay.
I looked up to them so much, especially when I got started, that I actually like DM'd them consistently to get a phone call with them. And I got a 30-minute phone call at the very beginning starting Bondi. Wow. And it was just like so impactful. I learned so much, and I kind of rapid fired them with just like, why do you have one social media? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? And I learned a lot, and it played a foundation into Bondi in a lot of big ways.
So you're a persistent one.
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
This is the silence in the car. You're working on your persistence.
Exactly. I guess that's what it is.
Okay.
I'm game planning.
Oh, that's super good. Well, what's next for you, and what's next with Bondi Bowls?
Like I said, I really want to be on Huntington Beach with Bondi Bowls. We'll see if that ever actually happens. And then for me, I think I'm slowly starting to get a life outside of Bondi. So I think diving into that, running the marathon. Yeah. I think those are my next steps.
Do you listen to music when you're running the marathon?
No, I don't actually. We've been training. We did 7 miles on Saturday, not a single song.
Wow. Not like a book on tape. Yeah, okay.
No
audio.
I run with, so I was really passionate about running a marathon, and then I just pitched it to some of my friends, and they're like, yeah. And so we talk the whole time. And if I run by myself, I just run in silence. So.
Okay. I'm clearly not a runner. So, I don't know. I have to listen to music when I work out. So I'm disoriented by what you're saying.
That's fair. I think a lot of people are that way. So.
Well, I have to say it has been awesome to sit down, have a conversation. Your effervescence is palpable, right? It's amazing. Just, I don't know, just how passionate you are. It really comes across. And it's been amazing just to kind of learn your story and hear what's next. And I cannot wait to just follow you on social media even more and see what happens next with you and Bondi Bowls.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming, Bailey.
Yeah. Thank you.